Deception has been a staple of warfare since time immemorial, serving victory on a conniving platter. The likes of Sun Tzu and Machiavelli deemed them one and the same. To ignore one would surely bring ruin upon the other, a fact recognised by many of history's greatest tacticians. Yet far from the action, we don't often conjure up images of ghostly armies in the cutthroat world of espionage. A ghastly mistake the Third Reich would only weep at during the twilight of the Second World War. But what caused this balmy blunder? Talks of a second front in Europe had been ongoing since the haphazard Soviet victory at Stalingrad. Even whilst the Red Army ran amok on the Eastern Front, grinding down the German war machine, the Axis powers remained masters of the mainland. Therefore, the need for a full-scale invasion of Western Europe became a top priority. Considered the most complex deception operation in history, Operation Fortitude was part of a wider Allied initiative to confuse German high command in the months preceding amphibious landings in occupied France. Location would be the main issue. The Germans logically concluded that the invasion would likely take place at the shortest point between Britain and France, from Dover to Pas-de-Calais. The man in charge of this operation would be Colonel David Strangeways. Name irony of the man that would create ghost armies aside, Strangeways recreated Operation Fortitude to pose a far more formidable threat to the Germans, by dividing the targets into north and south. The northern half would target Norway, whilst the southern half would target France. As part of this multifaceted effort, deception efforts spearheaded by double agents including the famous Balkan James Bond Dusan Popov and Juan Garbo Garcia would lay the groundwork for intelligence manipulation. This manipulation included deliberately leaking falsified information, radio activity, and even codes pertaining to military units to the Germans, feeding the cognitive dissonance that plagued much of Germany's upper brass. And all of this formed part of the initial aim of Fortitude, which was reinforcing the plausibility of the existence of a large military force, in this case the fictional 1st US Army Group, supposedly led by the famous US General George Patton. The means to consolidate the 1st US Army Group as a tangible unit was so extensive that fake shoulder patches were made and given to select soldiers. Night activity was made extra clear to any passing German reconnaissance plane, making it appear that an entire army was crawling about the English countryside. And perhaps the most famous aspect of Operation Fortitude was the inflatable dummy vehicles used to deceive the Germans of both the location and size of the real invasion force. In fact, the operation was so effective that key German figures, the likes of which included Adolf Hitler and Erwin Rommel, were utterly convinced that the invasion would happen elsewhere. Thousands of men and masses of material were shifted to Calais, whilst the feared Atlantic wall of concrete pillboxes and minefields barely existed at Normandy, which of course was the true target of the invasion. And those who saw through the ruse merely believed that any landing on Normandy was to be a diversion. What made Operation Fortitude a truly realistic threat to the Germans was military action. Just days and hours prior to D-Day, the Allied air forces would bomb strategic targets around Calais, maintaining the credibility of an impending invasion. To the Germans, it appeared completely irrational. Why would the enemy waste resources attacking targets if the invasion wouldn't happen in that vicinity? And it was that very thinking which doomed the Nazi occupation of Western Europe. Neither did the Germans really help themselves in this regard. They were kept from deducing the Allies' true intentions through their own internal obstructions. Efforts by intelligence wings such as the Abwehr to work out what was happening was hamstrung by various rivalries and ineffective doctrine. To this day, the true effectiveness of Operation Fortitude is still debated amongst historians, but it cannot be denied that it played an integral role in facilitating an Allied foothold over Western Europe, and without it, there would be no D-Day. Thank you so much for watching if you made it this far. Give the video a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe as I will be releasing regular videos soon. And here's to the 80th anniversary of D-Day. If you're looking for a way to celebrate it, I recommend watching The Longest Stay, it's such a good film. As ever, I'm Irovic, and I'll see you in the next one.